on a Tuesday. This is the Herd. Live in Los Angeles, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. It is great to have you in. Record-setting night for Drew Brees, one of my all-time favorite players. Joy Taylor is joining me on a Tuesday. That was fun last night.
Good morning. That was quite a moment.
Quite a moment for Drew Brees. And I it's a couple of months ago. It could have been 6 months ago. We just had a day we were just kind of talking about quarterbacks, and they kind of run the sport now. And there's only 7 or 8 great ones on the planet right now. And I said, Drew Brees, I started watching football in 1972. I'll give you the year before we show any tape. 1972, I watched the Super Bowl between Miami and Washington. From that day forward, it was a January in 1972. From that day until today, I've been watching football. And it's been my favorite sport. I like college football. I like the NBA. NFL's my favorite sport. Football guy, always have been. And I listed the great 8 quarterbacks, and I put Drew Brees on that list. And people are like, whoa, what about Aaron Rodgers? What about Steve Young? And I'm like, folks, I don't know what it is and why we choose to support certain people, but I just want to let you think about Drew Brees for a second. I'm always more impressed when people overcome things in life. I want you to think about the obstacles Drew Brees has faced in life. Number one, DNA. He's 6 feet tall. There was no Russell Wilson. People didn't want to draft him. 6 feet tall quarterbacks don't make it. DNA disadvantage. Junior year of high school, tears his knee up. Senior year, nobody will give him a scholarship except 2 basketball schools, Purdue and Kentucky. He goes to the NFL where he's good in San Diego for 3 years, and then they draft Phillip Rivers, another obstacle. Oh, by the way, in the NFL, his last game in San Diego, he hurts his shoulder. And then he goes to Miami, and publicly the doctor says, I can't clear you to play. Obstacle. And then he goes to New Orleans, and it's a natural disaster. Katrina, obstacle. They play home games in San Antonio, one of them in New York. And then halfway through his stay in New Orleans, Sean Payton gets suspended for a year, his architect. His life is a movie that you cry at. You cry during. It's not a documentary. It's a tearjerker. It's A Star is Born. I mean, it's incredible what he's overcome. We live in a time now. God, you spend 5 minutes on Twitter, it's woe is me. Everybody's against me. Hey, millennials, sorry if mom didn't pack you lunch and fold your underwear. Drew Brees, it's been every 2 years, a major obstacle, natural disasters, DNA, injuries. His timing's been terrible. God, he goes to New Orleans, Katrina, his last game in San Diego, he gets hurt. The greatest 8 quarterbacks I've ever seen play the game: Peyton, Brady, Montana, Bradshaw, Elway, Marino, Aikman, Brees. And all of them have different stories, but compare it to Peyton Manning. He broke his record last night, right? Passing yards. But just think about, and by the way, Peyton Manning's one of the best I've ever seen. I've never talked to Peyton Manning, talked to Cooper, talked to Eli, and Peyton's great. I was more of a Brady guy than Peyton, but Peyton's an all-time great guy. All-time great quarterback. But think of Peyton Manning's path. Peyton Manning DNA. Perfect. 6'5". Peyton Manning's dad, NFL quarterback. Peyton Manning had his choice of SEC schools surrounded by NFL players. And then when he goes to Indianapolis, they land Bill Polian, Hall of Fame general manager, who gives Peyton Manning great player after great player after great player on the offensive side. He also got drafted. I mean, if you think about Peyton Manning's life, and he deserves all the acclaim, he didn't face all these obstacles. Drew Brees, from DNA on, nothing but hurdles, nothing but roadblocks, and he breaks Peyton Manning's record. It's unbelievable. So when I say great 8 quarterbacks and people push back on it, I'm like, look at your own life. I mean, I say this all the time. I had a few divorces in my life when I was a kid, but my mom was doting. My dad was a doctor, so I got some of his brain power. I had a good relationship with my sister. I lived in the same house forever. I got a quarterback in high school. I fell in love with sports. I grew up in a small town, so there was, lots of space right next to the beach. Had a good dog. I may have had some issues in my life, but I didn't have that many roadblocks. I had a good life. I went to therapy once. I was like, what am I crying for? I didn't have any roadblocks. Yeah, there's a few divorces in my life. Drew Brees' life? His athletic career? His professional career? It's just like it's a steeplechase, hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And here's the play where he set the record.
So the family's on the field in anticipation of celebration. Will we get it here before halftime? Wide open. Wide open. And Smith. What a way to do it.
Isn't that great? Isn't that fitting? A big play. A big play. Congratulations to Drew Brees. He is scheduled to phone us in 1 hour. One of my all-time favorite guys. He is just diligence. I mean, if you had 4 or 5 words to describe him, it's guile and guts and grit and great. And all boxed into one. Tip of the cap. One of my all-time favorite guys. Started watching football in 1972. His story is as great as anybody that's ever played that position in this league. Amazing. Let me shift gears to this. Drew Brees, it's fitting Drew Brees did what he did last night because the NFL's hard. Careers don't last very long. You don't have guaranteed contracts. A doctor can say, you're not cleared to play. It's hard. That's why I think I've always liked football players more than other athletes. It's hard, man. It's hard. Successful guys are dealing with injuries. So the Philadelphia Eagles yesterday, they just found out Jay Ajayi, a running back, tore his ACL. Oh, another bit of bad news for the Eagles. By the way, he called out the team and their play calling. Hours later, he found out ACL tear, probably out for the year. Yeah, when you win in Philadelphia and then you start lecturing the NFL, Drew Brees showed you last night. It's hard. Think about all the things that have changed in the last 5 to 6 months for Philadelphia. Their offensive coordinator's now a head coach. He left in Indianapolis. Their quarterback coach is now the offensive coordinator in Minneapolis. LeGarrette Blount, Trey Burton, Brent Selleck retires. Torrey Smith traded. Mike Wallace placed on IR. Darren Sproles out since week 1. Jay Ajayi probably out for the year. Okay? This is why I said the Philadelphia Eagles, books, parades, chatter, politics reminded me so much of my hometown Seattle Seahawks. New England is on their 18th straight year of being in the Super Bowl conversation. Do we understand how unbelievable that is? College sports are built for dynasties. The best teams get the best players in recruiting. The NBA, the best cities add more great players. In the NFL, when I watch what's happening to Philadelphia, it just illustrates how unbelievable what the New England Patriots are doing. We're a few months removed from the Super Bowl champs. They go into camp. They're a mess. Their season Thursday against the New York Giants. I know it's like week 6, but am I wrong saying it's a must-win? This is why I compared the Eagles to the Seahawks. They were historically frustrating franchise. They land a star quarterback. Doesn't take long. They win a Super Bowl. They get loud. They start talking. They lose coordinators. And the next morning they wake up, oh, we're back to being what we looked like. You ever throw a big party at your house? You ever throw a big party at your house? And, I mean, here's my thing. When my wife and I once or twice a year will throw a party, and I'm like, I don't want to party till 4 in the morning because I know what it looks like in my house the next morning when I wake up. This is why one of the mantras on my show is celebrate briefly, grind daily. The bigger the party, the bigger the mess the following morning when you wake up. And the Seahawks and the Eagles, they partied like crazy. They're writing books and parades and talking and politics. And look at them. Folks, getting to the top is one thing. Staying there is harder. There's been a lot of one-hit wonders in music. There's a handful of legends. And Philadelphia, don't give up on them. That division's not very good. I still think the Philadelphia Eagles will find a way to get into the playoffs. But what you're seeing, Jay Ajayi, out now probably for the year, you know what you should be thinking about? How damn impressive New England is. College sports is built for dynasties. Duke wins a title, they get more good players. Bama, Ohio State wins a title, they get more good players. In the NBA, stars are joining stars. In the NFL, Philadelphia, that's got a good owner, a great GM, a great coach, a great quarterback. Check, 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 check. All the things. Great offensive line, great defensive line. It's man overboard. 6 months later. All right, Troy Aikman's talking this morning about Dak Prescott, and that's making a little bit of news. Joy Taylor's joining me today. Drew Brees will join us in 45 minutes. Doug Gottlieb this hour, and a member of the Cleveland Browns. You think I don't like Baker Mayfield? Then why am I bringing on his starting tight end today? It'll probably blast me. It'll probably crush me, and I'm bringing him right on the show. I may just take Cleveland to beat the Chargers this weekend. You seen that tasty betting line? That's pretty interesting.
Is this what we're doing now, Colin? Telling you, I'll have to step in if I want to. Yeah, if you want to, get things started on a nice note with David Njoku, just mention that you like the University of Miami and you'll be good.
I know. He's a great player there. And one of their many great tight ends. So Troy Aikman's talking about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. We'll have that for you next. Football is back. SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to get tickets to every game all season long. Last-minute deal, SeatGeek. Planning a night out, SeatGeek. Or perhaps, and I've done this, buying tickets is a perfect gift. They get the best prices, fully guaranteed. All they do at SeatGeek, search multiple ticket sites for you, grade every ticket for you based on value, so you immediately identify what you can afford. They also do concerts, theater tickets, comedy shows, and sports. I got the SeatGeek app on my phone, easiest way to shop for tickets, buy a couple of tickets. And by the way, download that app, takes you about a minute. And right now, my listeners get $20 off their first SeatGeek purchase. We got baseball playoff games, NFL, big college games. Download the SeatGeek app, enter the promo code HERD, H-E-R-D today. Promo code HERD, $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. They have the tickets.
Why do I feel so dry?